This book changed my life. See this? Sharon Lechter, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Sharon Lechter, she's one of the principal architects of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series, et cetera, et cetera. I was a W-2 employee, loving life, but then again, I read this book and it changed my life. It made me learn what passive income was and really taking net worth to the next level. What's happened over the years, not only reading her book, but now she's a podcast partner of mine. Yes, that blows me away, comes full circle. Unbelievable. Anyway, what you're going to watch and listen here would be my conversation with my business mentor, Sharon Lechter. Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Sharon, obviously, we have gotten to know each other pretty darn well. I'm excited to ask you these questions, although, frankly, I was a little bit nervous. We talked a little bit beforehand, and you said, go ahead and ask these questions. But these are questions that I believe will help viewers and listeners really know what's going on in the mind of none other than the famous Sharon Lechter. You ready?
I certainly am, Kenner. Thank you so much.
All right. What would you tell a 22-year-old Sharon Lechter about entrepreneurship and potentially to succeed in entrepreneurship?
Well, I would tell a 22-year-old Sharon, who's probably been raised in an environment where it's go to school, get a job, and have a career that you can retire from, still even today, that keep your options open. Even 22-year-olds see things, see problems, and see problems that need to be solved and needs that need to be served. So be open to the possibility of entrepreneurship. Even if you get a job, you can always have a side gig in entrepreneurship because that's really how the significant number of people, certainly in America, have found their wealth by becoming entrepreneurs and creating businesses that thrive. And those businesses become assets. So my philosophy from early age to 25 actually was why not? Why not do something different? Why not take that path less traveled?
That's why you're so unique. Things like that, things that come from your brain of having so much knowledge. I mean, just with that answer, you've already added value to someone who's, 22 all the way to 45 to 55. Someone might be trying to take their business to the next level. They're worth $10 million all the way to someone who's, right out of college. So I really appreciate that answer. So I'm going to ask this a similar question. What would you tell a 22-year-old Sharon Lechter about tax strategy as an entrepreneur?
Well, most 22-year-olds have no concept of tax strategy. They just get their paycheck and then they get upset because they see all the money going to the government and they don't realize that they have options. I mean, the tax code is actually written to support entrepreneurs and to help businesses create employment for other people. So I would tell a 22-year-old to not put your head in the sand, but to actually be aware of what you're doing and what the tax law um, is available to you, how you can utilize it, but most of them don't because they're clueless, and so I say be aware, educate yourself, and find ways that you can reduce your tax liability because that money goes back into your pocket.
Similarly, I'm going to go with this. Obviously, we've been doing artificial intelligence for years. I know you're obviously an advocate of artificial intelligence, and we marry the two, tax strategy and artificial intelligence. So I guess I'll ask the question of you. What would you, again, keeping with the theme, what would you tell a 22-year-old Sharon Lechter about AI?
Well, I would imagine most 22-year-olds today already know a lot about AI. They probably know about having it using it for fun or research, but understanding that AI, you get out what you put in. You need to make sure you understand what your prompts are. You understand that using AI to write something for you, you can't copyright it. It's not yours, but it's a great tool for research. And make sure your prompts are telling AI not to guess, to give you stuff that they can give back up as factual so that you have the ability to get the research. And it really is AI is a lot of fun. I actually put in something a couple weeks ago. I said, "Well, write something in my voice, Sharon Lecter's voice, related to this." All right, and I was actually quite impressed. And I don't get impressed by too many people's writing, so I'm kind of picky. But I was pretty impressed by what AI gave me. But I always tell people, whatever that does for you, then put your own spin on it. Make sure that you have human input into what you're doing, particularly if you want to protect it or copyright.
Mm. Well, in line with artificial intelligence, obviously there's a lot to a lot of controversy about IP, intellectual property, as it relates to artificial intelligence. So I know you're one of the big advocates of, well, both artificial intelligence and also intellectual property. I know you're married to a pretty, no, I almost said pretty well known, a very well known IP attorney. So let's say you're talking to a 20 or helping to instruct or mentor a 22-year-old Sharon Lechter. What would you say about intellectual property in a way to succeed going forward?
Well, I would start, Kenner, by saying there's three things you control: your thoughts, your words, your actions. And your thoughts are in this world, our younger generation, there's so much negativity around. So it's really important to control your thoughts. And that means it helps you choose your words and your actions. And so when you're looking at creating a body of work, of intellectual property, you really want it to be consistent with who you are. You want to be authentic. And so whatever you're doing in social media needs to be compatible with what you want to be in the business world. And so a lot of young people ruin their chances for advancement in their career because they get crazy on social media and potential employers or partners see their craziness in social media. And so they're closing the door to that opportunity. So it starts with your thoughts. What are you thinking? Are you adding value in what you post? Are you supporting other people in what you post? Or are you being negative and derogatory? Because that will come back to bite you later on. And so your thoughts, your words, your actions. And then as you understand that in today's environment, if you took the Fortune 500 companies, over 90% of their value today is in intangible assets, whereas 40 years ago it was 10%. And so you've seen this huge shift to intangible assets, and a large piece of that is intellectual property, from brand value to copyrights, trademarks, patents, and those things don't have a book value. So a company may be worth $5 million book value, but they're worth 500 million because of their brand and their intellectual property. And so understanding that intellectual property comes from your brain. And so if you focus about what you can write, what you can contribute, what you can solve, gives you intellectual property that can grow into an asset and that becomes an economic engine for you. And if you think about it, Airbnb, huge hospitality industry, owns no hotels. Uber, huge transportation company, owns no cars. All right. Think of Amazon. The amount of value of Amazon is not in bricks and mortar, it's in the systems. And so that's the future of the world we live in, is continuing to get very, but it also levels the playing field, Kenner. Because it's not a bunch of bricks and mortar, you have the ability to use your brain and compete with the big boys.
Nice. See, again, things like that. That's why you add so much value to the marketplace to, new entrepreneurs all the way to experienced entrepreneurs. And this is going to be a little funny. I'm going to ask this question. Not only are you a podcast partner, but I consider you a friend. We've hung out for a while. We've known each other for a while. And I'm nervous about asking it, but I'm going to ask it. Um, um, let's assume you were talking to a 22-year-old Sharon Lechter, and you were talking about what is sexy. I know I kind of cringe at asking that question, but what would your response be helping a 22-year-old Sharon Lechter when someone said, "What is sexy?"
Well, definitely, Kenner, my tagline is assets are sexy. And it's something that, I came up with that with a few years ago, because then I also say the older you get, the sexier they become. Because I have a lot shorter runway ahead of me than behind me, but knowing that I'm financially free knows that I can, I can survive at the same style of living that I've become accustomed to. Many people can't say that because they've never focused on buying, building, creating income producing assets. So I would educate a 20-year-old that says, yes, you want to go out and buy the Louis Vuitton shoes or the Birkin bag. Well, why don't you first put that money into a small apartment complex or real estate rental, or put it into something that grows in value, so that then when that asset becomes cash flowing, you buy the Birkin bag from the cash flow, not from the money that you're coming in. Because it's not what you do for your paycheck, it's what you do with your paycheck. So that was the first thing I would say to a 20-year-old. Whatever you're doing for your paycheck is what you do with your paycheck that determines your financial future. And so with every dollar you receive, Are you going to let it flow through your fingers, or are you going to hold on to it, invest it, and let it work for you? And the more a young person sees that happening and they start building their assets, that's where the sexiness comes from, because those assets create, you are financially free when the income from your assets exceeds your monthly expenses. And it does not have to be millions of dollars. And that's why I say it's sexy. Then you have an opportunity to do what you want, to make a contribution and still have the income coming in because your assets are working for you. So yes, most 20-year-olds sexiness base is looking in the mirror, and I want them to understand that sexiness also comes from looking at your balance sheet.
You made an uncomfortable question very easy. Thank you very much, just like I would expect you to do. Before I forget, I think, everyone everyone talks about new business, but you don't really push your business, in my opinion. You do it in a perfect way. But let's just assume someone wanted to get a hold of you or be in your funnel or learn about your business or learn about, how they can increase their net worth, lower their taxes, use artificial intelligence. How does one get a hold of you, or how does one get within your quote funnel, if you will?
Well, thank you. Yes, my website is sharonlechter.com. And in there, you can sign up for a free newsletter. I also have what I call a personal success equation, which I would also tell that 20-year-old. Personal success equation is P plus T, your passion plus your talent. And most of us stop there because we feel like we have to do everything on our own. Now, my passion actually came from anger that we weren't teaching kids about money in school, but a lot of people say, love what you do what you love. So that's your passion. Your talent. For me, I was a CPA for over 35 years and many, many years in publishing. So I could combine that, but I knew that wasn't enough. I needed the next one, times A, power of association, having the right people on your team, having the right partners to help you get your message broader and wider around the world. And then times A, taking action. How many times do we know what we're supposed to do? We just don't do it. And then all of it wrapped with a plus F for faith. Faith in yourself, faith in what you're doing, faith that is needed and necessary, and faith that you will succeed. And Kenner, most of the time that F is fear. And that's what holds people from reaching the success they deserve. And so if you go to personalsuccessequation.com, I have a free workbook there for you to really review your own personal success equation and see those one or two things that you can do to really get that next step of success. And so, yes, go to sharonlechter.com, email me, info@sharonlechter.com. We have retreats, we have lots of online courses, and we're there to support you every step of the way. I have a mentoring program. Would love to hear from you. And my team has given me the legacy of creating legacies as my tagline because I love helping people succeed, helping them get to the next level.
I know firsthand. We've known each other for a while. We've worked together for a long time now. But what I would say, no, and what I would say is, y- your community is very unique. You add a ton of value. And if someone is an entrepreneur, again, just starting out or down the road, and they're, pretty happy, but maybe they do want to take it to the next level, your community does make a lot of sense. Now, for those who don't know how to spell, just in case they might not be watching or listening, or watching where they can see your name, how do they spell that website?
Yes, Sharon, Sharon, Lecter, Lechter.com, SharonLechter.com. But you can also go to personalsuccessequation.com if you don't have anything to write down. If you can remember personalsuccessequation.com, that takes you to the website as well. So,
Once again, always a good time hanging out with Sharon, and thank you for making that very uncomfortable question feel okay, and for answering all those questions, Sharon. I really do enjoy hanging out with you.
absolutely. I appreciate you putting a little twist on things and getting people excited about that. And whether you're 20, 40, 60, it's never too late to start solving problems and serving needs. It's never too late to create. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. There's no age requirement to start, and there's no age requirement to retire. So you have the opportunity to become an entrepreneur, whatever stage of life you're in, and know that part of it when you love what you do, it's not work. People talk to me all the time, "When are you gonna retire?" And I go, I don't feel like what I do is work, so there's nothing to retire from." And I don't even like that word. I think that's a negative word. I go to refire. So, one chapter of your life may end. Well, let's start a new one. Let's refire your engines and get going in a different direction.
From Sharon Lechter's lips to our ears as entrepreneurs. Very good stuff. Thanks again, Sharon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been my honor and my delight.
So, what did you think of that episode with Sharon Lechter and me, myself, Kenner French? I really hope you enjoyed it. Sharon Lechter has made such an impact on me. It's unbelievable. Not only from reading this book, but also spending time with her in general as my business mentor, but also really, truly chatting with her during our podcast partner days. And I've really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad you spent the time. Since you spent the time here spending it with us, hey, go to modernmillions.ai. That's my book, modernmillions.ai. Make millions, save millions, and protect millions. It's the #1 bestseller on Amazon in the entrepreneurship category. Go to modernmillions.ai. You're going to get a copy of this. Put in your information. You're going to get a copy of my book, which again, #1 bestseller on Amazon in the entrepreneurship category. I really do appreciate you spending the time watching and listening to these videos. This specific one was, well, sponsored by none other than modernmillions.ai and Amazon.com. Thank you, everybody.